Up for review today is this auto tester. It's just a voltage probe for working on vehicles, DC3-120, which is, I guess it's supposed to be 12 volts. It's a really odd, kind of generic looking brand thing. MXCOIRTP, I can't even pronounce that. I'll put the information in the comments, but you know, I imagine this is probably going to be sold under multiple brands, different brand names. Wanted to kind of take a look at it and see if it was any good or worth buying, and more importantly, if the voltage is, you know, accurate to the 10th, and kind of see what the quality's like and everything. This is my first look too, and I've got a voltmeter over here and then a couple of different sources to kind of check different voltages and compare, make sure it's actually accurate. And I'm kind of seeing one issue already, and that's that it's just kind of free to spin in there, sort of. I've seen it move once already, and I've seen these kind of voltage things before. It's very simple, not a complicated IC, and you'll see it even comes out like that. So I don't really see that as a benefit on these. It'd be nice if it was just sealed in there. No O-ring on here. You know, you might want to put some glue around this. It feels kind of cheap plasticky, but it's nice that it has this little shock absorber here, keep you from kinking and wearing down the cord. The probe is pretty sharp. I'll zoom in on that. So it's fairly sharp. It probably could have a tighter profile. It kind of gets real fat pretty quick, but that should work just fine. Got your injection mold, clear housing. Interesting red wire. It feels pretty good. It actually reminds me of, it almost looks like one of those bracelets, or like the cords you see on like a watercraft or something. But and then it comes to this grounding clip, and then they didn't even bother to finish the job with the heat shrink here. Very simple, cheap little clip. It's not one of the little small ones like this. It's a bigger one, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. And I suppose this is supposed to be like a storage, you know, thing. You can cover up the tip, protect the tip, and yourself from getting stabbed there. So I've got a 12, you know, to 14 volt source here. I'm going to, and that's the other thing, it's not going to be self-powered. Okay, it's going to get powered from your source. Some of these will have 2 leads, and you know, you can power it and like individually, you know, you can test the load on something without adding a little load on it for the tester itself, but this is fine for automotive use really. So I'm gonna ground it, and then let's connect down here. So that worked. Connect at the tip. It almost looks like it's coated, but it's conductive. So we got a even 13 volts there. Now I'm gonna hit it with this tester, which should be accurate to the 10th, and see what we get. Might be a little bit tricky here. Just clip that there, and then connect this, and I've got 13.26 while this was reading out 13. So connect that back. Went to 13.2 for a second. I'm gonna put this on here. Still at 13. 13.26. I'm wondering if there's logic in here where it rounds down, but I doubt it. And I don't see any value in that. If you're going to include the decimal, you know, make it accurate, right? So right away, it seems like it's not accurate. I'm going to try a shared ground probe where I have 2 different power sources. I'm going to share their ground and then probe the positive and see what happens. Okay, so that's good. So it has some protection circuit in there. Back up to 13. So I'm going to hook this battery source, and I'm going to check this rechargeable battery here. Okay, so it does have a low voltage limit. It can't go down to, you know, 1.7, 1.5 volts. It's oh, correction, sorry, using the wrong clip. See, I see these and I get used to seeing those on these probes. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so yeah, it can't go that low. So if you're looking for a phantom voltage source or something, you're not going to want to use this. If there's some logic that you're testing, like on a wiring harness for a vehicle that has variable voltage from 1.2 to 5 volts or whatever, you know, or CAN bus or something, this might not work for you. Let's see here. I had grabbed a 12-volt battery. I mean a 9-volt battery. And I don't see it sitting here. I'm going to have to grab another one real quick. Alright, so here we have a 3-volt source and a 9-volt source, and we're going to test these out. Here's the 9-volt. It definitely better do 9 volts. There we go. It says 9.3. Let's see what it registers on this one. I know this is accurate. I've used it before. Quite a bit, actually. This is a cheaper brand Unity, but they actually work pretty good. So we got 9.62, and we only had 9.3 on the other one, which makes sense because it was 0.3 volts off from the get-go. So I'm going to try this source, see what it does. Doesn't even power on. But let's check this and see what the actual voltage is on it before I go making promises for these cheap alkalines to have a good voltage. Hard to see here. Yeah, so 1.41 volts. So these they're not actually in parallel. One of them is in series, but those must be bad batteries. So, you know, I'm not going to get into trying to find the low voltage limit, but let's say around 12 volts, like it's advertised. It says 348, 120 volts. There's some kind of disconnect there. This ain't going to do no 120 volts, and you're not going to have 120 volts on a DC powered vehicle. That is interesting. So it says DC 5 to 90 volts right back here. 90 volts is pretty high, but I don't know what kind of English they were using or translation, but clearly they got it wrong on the package. Other than that, I think it's okay. I really don't see any value in this over the one that lights up, just because you're only getting around 12 volts anyway. So if you really want to trust this thing that isn't super accurate down to 5 volts, I don't know that I would even waste time getting something like this. I don't know that it would be worth it over some other products that are also usually pretty cheap out there, you know, that offer something similar. So I'm not sure I could actually recommend this. I don't think I will. I wouldn't recommend anyone picking this up, even though it was $11.99. And I'm gonna go into the listing out of curiosity and just take a look real quick. It's got 5 5-star reviews. Not sure how much I trust that. Now it's down to $9. And see, you got the green or red LED. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it doesn't have an independent voltage to power to the device itself. So, you know, if you were doing a green-red polarity thing, I mean, that ain't gonna get you anywhere. And we can test it to make sure you can't reverse the polarity, but... And see, this says 12 volt and 120 volt. Clearly, this thing is not going to do no 120 volts. It doesn't even say that on the back of the package. and I really don't want to hook it up to 120 volts AC and kind of have it fry itself. But we will try reversing it. So let's try, you know, doing positive and negative. And okay, so that does actually work. If you use your grounding clip for positive, and then you're looking for a ground, it'll tell you found ground and give you a voltage. So that's neat, but I wouldn't say it's novel enough to replace a more well-known product. I really don't understand the 5-star. I don't feel like this deserves a 5-star. Maybe because of it being cheap and stuff, and you know, these kind of crappy contacts, you could actually lose a little bit of continuity there, and that's how the voltage might be off, you know. Just not a good product in my opinion.